Welcome to the Rude Dog Show. Good evening. I know there's been a slight delay in bringing the show to you guys, but I really want to thank you for tuning in right now. I am live on Today's California, Today's Canada, live on Twitter, now LinkedIn, which is a very cool feature, I must say, as well as the Rude Dog Show on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining me. We have a great show tonight. Uh, there's a lot of things that I enjoyed about Las Vegas, and one of those things that I had driven by was Allegiant Stadium. And Allegiant Stadium, practically brand new. They've only played one season with no fans in the stands. Now fans will be exploding into this beautiful stadium out right off of the freeway. And what's really even more exciting than that is that now Derek Carr has the ability to have his number one wide receiver who he had teamed up with while at Fresno State. And of course, I got a shout out to Bill Sanso. Thank you so much, Bill, for checking out the Rude Dog Show. And I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for that. On the cusp of bringing the team back together again, or maybe not. DeVante Adams and Derek Carr have yet to set a very historic season since their college days together, where they led the way while at Fresno State. Now, he's uniting with his college quarterback, Derek Carr. They played 2 years together at Fresno State. And in those 2 seasons, as Bulldog players, Adams led the FBS in receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, while Carr was a top in FBS in passing yards, passing touchdowns. And that's something that you should really have a feather in your hat if you are Derek Carr and the Raiders. We're going to talk about the contract extension, and I'm back as well. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. Of course, Ignacio, thanks, man. I know you like the Raiders content, so we're going to keep it rolling here. So thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I look at this as being almost a fateful reunited front when now no longer John Gruden. You don't have your wide receiver Henry Ruggs 2 years ago involved in a very horrific car accident, 156 miles an hour, and killed someone. And this has just been the state of turmoil. Now they have Daniels in there, former offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots, understands the rhythm, the rhyme of and ebb and flow of the offense. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate it. And yeah, the Raiders they could turn into a very amazing team, and I'm really dying to see what that looks like. The preseason is preseason. Nobody should really get themselves all tied up in knots over, because again, it's just preseason. But more importantly, there's a lot of things to look at, a lot of things to analyze in regards to who the Raiders are, who they're going to become, and where they're at right now. And what I look at is DeVante Adams being a real big key to the success of the Las Vegas Raiders, not only this year, but years moving forward. Now, with that being said, give you a little background about DeVante Adams. He was born in Redwood City, not too far away from here, probably about 5, maybe 6 hours away. He attended Palo Alto High School. As we know, a lot of guys have. Dick Vermeil just voted in the Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame. Was born in Calistoga. He went to Calistoga High School. So there's a lot of great lineage from California. I know you may not think so. Of course, it could be from back east, but people, players, places, and things come from all over the country, and they end up where they belong. I'm really a true believer in that. When you look at DeVante Adams, when you look at Derek Carr, also a California guy playing for Fresno State, a lot of things to like about this Raiders team. You're kind of wondering, look, you're wearing a Steelers hat. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a very objective fan, and I call things like I see them. So when my team stinks up the pot, I'm going to call it like it is. More importantly, when you look at the Raiders, they've been stinking up the pot for quite a long time. And just so you know, Franco Harris did catch that ball. Just thought I'd throw that out there. And of course, we all know what happened when the Raiders played the Steelers. But the Steelers haven't had a great record against Oakland / Los Angeles / Las Vegas Raiders in recent memory. They've lost those meetings. So it just kind of makes you wonder, are the Raiders the kryptonite, or do the Steelers travel too far when they come to the West Coast from the East Coast? That remains to be seen. We look at who DeVante Adams is. He caught for 64 passes, 1,094 yards, 12 touchdowns, recorded 44 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception. So he knows how to be the main guy. He was acquired by the Raiders to be that guy. And there's a lot of things, again, to like about where not only DeVante Adams is going, not only where Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders are going, but where Fresno State is actually headed to. And of course, I have to touch on Fresno State. They're right down the street from where I live. And more importantly, it's about the Jake Hayner show. I'll be honest with you. Now that a lot of the older pieces that are part of the puzzle now, a part of trying to recreate this, I don't know, maybe they take some inspiration knowing that Derek Carr and DeVante Adams are back together again. And perhaps a lot of these crew members are going to do, well, the very same thing. So that, again, remains to be seen. And what the season looks like is really going to be upon us. We'll find out what that is on September 11th. And I look at this as being very, very interesting season. When I say interesting, I mean there's a lot to love about where the Raiders are actually going, their future, the dynamics of the team, the coaching decisions, hiring the first female vice president of operations for the Las Vegas Raiders, if I'm saying that correctly. And they're trending in the right direction. They're going where they need to go. And I think they've been behind the curve for quite some time, finally being able to figure out where they're headed as a franchise, as an organization. Now, would Al Davis be surprised if he was alive today? Probably so. I would say he'd be pleasantly surprised, considering they're able to get out of that Oakland Coliseum lease that Mark Davis has certainly fought for quite some time. And I think more importantly, there's a lot of great components to this. And when you look at DeVante Adams' long season, and of course when he entered the league in 2014, it's been a lot to do about a lot. When you're talking about DeVante Adams, while he was with Fresno State, with the Bulldogs, 233 receptions, 3,030 yards, 30 touchdowns, named Mountain West Freshman of the Year in 2012, and along with first team All MWC 2012-2013. This guy is acclimated. He has football lineage written all over him. One day he's going to end up in Canton as well, and deservedly so. I think the decision to bring Adams to Las Vegas was due mostly to, and we're going to think about this from the Raiders' perspective, not having the right talent, not having the all-around talent, the guys who are going to make the difference, especially off the line, being able to break off coverage in order to get wide open. Of course, we heard about Henry Ruggs' incident about 3 years ago. Henry Ruggs III possibly not going to see the light of day since his blood alcohol content was very high. He was accused of killing 23-year-old Tina Tenor while driving in Las Vegas. And he's out of reach right now for any team to even contemplate acquiring him, or even talking to him or having the conversation in regards to where he may land, where he may go. Right now, that's off the table for every NFL team, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. So with that being said, DeVante Adams plays a very perfect role. I'm more curious to see what that relationship is going to look like, what dynamic they're going to bring to the field, and more importantly, how that will affect everybody else around them, the other wide receivers. When you're talking about Renfro, there's just a lot to like right now, a lot of unknowns in regards to creating that chemistry. And I've spoken about this before on a couple of other shows. And you can always go find this show on TheRudeDogShow.com. You can find it. I'm live on YouTube. You can find me everywhere right now and be able to find this show as well. I look at what the Raiders had given up for DeVante Adams in exchange for some second-round picks. But they went ahead and gave the Raiders had given him a new 5-year, $140.125 million contract, which is something that not really, I don't know, it shakes the landscape of the NFL, it shakes the landscape of where the Las Vegas Raiders are in regards to cap available to them. But more importantly, they had sent the 2022 NFL drafts round number, I don't know if there was a round associated with it, but number 22, number 53 overall, I think that was the two first-round picks, which DeVante Adams is certainly worth the acquisition over. It's never really easy moving on from a player or a person the caliber of DeVante Adams. And this was a statement by Brian Gutekunst, who's the Packers general manager. We have so much respect for DeVante. He had given on and off the field during 8 seasons in Green Bay, as he was an integral part to all that we've accomplished. He's undoubtedly one of the greatest players in the storied history of the Packers. We look forward to him being enshrined in the Packers Hall of Fame one day. We wish nothing but the best for DeVante and his wife, Devon, and the rest of their family moving forward. End quote. That was a very classy statement by Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst. And I think more importantly, it says a lot about who DeVante Adams is. And I've spoken about this before on previous shows. Throughout years of doing this, there are a lot of guys who are character, who are established, who have nothing but integrity, respect for the game, respect for those around him and around them collectively. And this is no exception to the rule when you're talking about DeVante Adams and what he brings, not only from a personal standpoint, but what that looks like from an athletic standpoint as well. We know that he was Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. That's no big mystery there. And I think, moreover, when you look at the contract situation he had in Green Bay, certainly did not end up well, as Aaron Rodgers himself didn't see this being worked out. In quote, Adams would never play for the Packers again, and the situation was too far gone. So, again, the writing was on the wall for DeVante Adams, but more importantly, what it meant to the Las Vegas Raiders and where they're actually headed and where they're going. Frustration set in when contracts don't work your way. When money doesn't fall in your pocket, you seem to have a problem with it, and it becomes more of a professional, disingenuous move, for lack of a better term. And when I look at where he's going, to his buddy, his college teammate, his friend, his confidant in Derek Carr, he's going to be able to throw it around to guys like Darrell Waller, who's been an absolute stud. He was last year. I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. I mentioned Hunter Renfrow and what that looks like for Derek Carr, a little running for Josh Jacobs right up the gut, as we've seen in the Hall of Fame game. And again, one of those things that I really enjoy about the Raiders is that they're headed in the right direction. And I believe they're going to not only find a way to make this Wild West even wilder, that's definitely going to be between the Los Angeles Chargers, the Denver Broncos, and the Las Vegas Raiders. I just think that there's and the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and this is just going to be the wildest West you'll probably ever see. And I expect this to be absolutely knockdown, drag-out fight in the AFC West. I don't think anything less. There's just one other division in the AFC that I believe is just going to be that much better. Just a little bit, just going to have a slight edge, and that's the AFC North. AFC North is always brutal, always tough. They have the toughest schedules. The Steelers are in the AFC North, and they have one of the brutal schedules, like they always do historically. And I think that the Raiders are certainly up there in regards to strength of schedule, but not in the 20s, more like in the teens. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Raiders handle their upcoming schedule and what that's going to look like for numbers. Now, when you look at, now they've already been able to settle DeVante Adams' contract. Now, the obvious would be to finalize Derek Carr's contract situation as well. They went ahead and signed that extension that's worth, $121.5 million for 3 years with Derek Carr under center for the Silver and Black. And it's going to take some time. And I don't think it's going to be an overnight success story by any means. I think you're going to see some struggles here and there in regards to where the chemistry actually lies between DeVante Adams and Derek Carr, and how they're able to really get this going. And they're going to find their rhythm. It's not going to happen right off the bat. I'd be surprised if it did. But I really believe that, the stadium's great and everything. Thank you, Maria, for that chime. I think it's more importantly where the Raiders are collectively and how they're going to ascertain what all this means and really be able to analyze and put together and accumulatively just build something from absolutely nothing. And when I look at the 8 seasons in Green Bay for DeVante Adams, he's got 5 Pro Bowl nods, Pro Bowl selections, 2 All-Pro nods, one of the best receivers in football outside of guys like Tyreek Hill. He's on the cusp of something great. Now, whether or not Derek Carr can get the ball to him and make this a real, true combo that you're looking for, especially between these guys, certainly has a lot to go. And there's just so much more to be talked about in regards to where these guys are. Now, what's interesting is that now you take DeVante Adams, and I've mentioned this on the show before, you take DeVante Adams out of the equation for Aaron Rodgers as part of that wide receiver group. And now they're going to rely on, guys like Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb as their 2, top current receivers. Now, I take nothing away from Randall Cobb. He's absolutely fantastic. Lazard, not quite a Hall of Famer yet, despite the hype and the push and the pull of Aaron Rodgers stating that he will be maybe one day. But if anybody's ahead of both of them, it's DeVante Adams. So we're going to see what the Packers look like without having DeVante Adams as part of that wide receiver rotation. As for the Raiders, they went ahead and acquired a little bit more beef on the outside of the ball. Of course, we've seen a lot of cuts today as well. And we look at Chandler Jones. This is a gigantic AFC West. Every single game is going to be a big game. It doesn't matter if it's on Monday night, Sunday night, Thursday night. It's going to make no difference in the AFC West at all. So, again, the pecking order, as I see it, from the mountaintop down to the bottom of the basin, is going to go just like this. I see the Chargers taking the number 1 spot, Kansas City the second spot, Raiders in the third spot, fighting for a wild card position, but the Broncos certainly have to get, and I'm not saying they don't have the talent or skill set, but Russell Wilson is in a new system. And yes, training camp is training camp, but you have to have training camp. You have to have practice. You have to build familiarity with all your targets. I think this is going to bypass them this year, but barely. It would be hard. I would be hard pressed to think that all of them outside of the number 1 seed in the AFC West is going to get some type of postseason nod, but I could be wrong completely. I just think that there's going to be a little bit more growth to do along with those draft picks, because they had given away Noah Fant to Seattle. And they had given away, another bruiser on the offensive line, in defense with Chris Harris Jr. So I'm going to probably go on a limb and make that my claim to fame and make the Rude Dog Hall of Shame. How's that? And that's just how it is. This is Rudy Reyes on the TheRudeDogShow.com, live on Today's Canada, Today's California, live on Twitter, live on Facebook, live everywhere. I guess they now know this as the metaverse. Is that what this is? I guess if it's a metaverse, and I'm all over it and in it. I want to move on here because I think that when you look at this situation, and of course, I'm just going to give you the segue of what the situation is going to be like. When you have guys in the NFL who've came out of the closet, yes, the metaverse, you're absolutely right there, Maria. That's called the metaverse for all intents and purposes. So thank you for that little correctness there. Tampa Bay Buccaneers re-signed their defensive end, Carl Nassib, who's clearly as known for being openly gay and an active player, not somebody who had retired like we had seen with David Kopay in 1975, Michael Sam, who didn't come out of the closet until he was in the NFL, but at the same token, it went to the Rams, the Cowboys, and switched gears to play for the Montreal Alouettes and ended up being their defensive line coach. So I think to myself, this is certainly something that is worth noting, because Nassib ended up going to Tampa Bay. Of course, they no longer have Gronkowski. Tom Brady is gone for all intents and purposes. Not quite sure how long that is or what that's going to be or what that actually looks like or why he left for that matter. He stated from multiple reports that he was leaving and coaching staff knew, ownership knew. So apparently this was something in advance that he was going to go and do something or other away from the team, away from the franchise, away from the facilities. So hope all is well in Bradyville. One thing that I wanted to note here, Carl Nassib, and I'll quote Michael Sam on this. Thank you for owning your truth and especially your donation to the Trevor Project. So at Trevor Project, the LGBTQ people are more likely to commit suicide than heterosexuals. I hope and pray people will take note for this. Note to this. Thank you again, Carl, and look forward to seeing you play on the field. So, and this was posted last year. So it's going to be interesting. So when I look at Nassib and I think to myself, well, he came out while he was with the Las Vegas Raiders, and certainly someone that I nobody knew, and it was a shocker to everyone. But more importantly, it was about the support that he was being given. And one thing that made him very memorable outside of that, from an athletic standpoint, he forced a fumble off of Lamar Jackson. And more importantly, a dramatic Monday Night Football victory for the Silver and Black. And thank you, Natasha, for that. This is Nassib's 7th season in the NFL and his second stint with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who played 2018, 2019, recorded almost 7 sacks. And clearly this is a guy who's familiar with the system. It may be a new coach, but it's still the same system. And when I look at what Buccaneers coach Todd Bowles had said about his ability to stop pressure, stop the run, pressure the quarterback, he said, and quote, he has a lot of versatility, brings a lot of energy, he brings a lot of toughness, end quote. Bowles told reporters Tuesday, and quote, he understands the team system. He was comfortable in it, so we look forward to him coming here, end quote. So the Raiders elected ultimately to not bring back Nassib for 2022, only because it would be too much of a cap hit, but a very efficient cap hit if they were to have kept Nassib, especially as an edge rusher. He would have made $7.75 million this season had he have returned. I think it's a great move for Nassib. I think it's a better move. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I want to make a correction. He's not the blanket for Tom Brady. He's going after guys like Tom Brady, so I want to make that correction. It was something that I didn't see coming. I didn't see Nassib, an active open gate player. Of course, we know Michael Sam was a part of that, who had went on 3 football teams in the NFL, went on to play in the CFL, but I just did not see anything accruing for Nassib while he was in Oakland. He was solid. He created a lot of pressure. He did a lot of great things while in Las Vegas. But I think more importantly, I look at Cy Ziegler, who's a co-founder of Outsports.com. He had stated, and I quote, for a team, especially high-profile Super Bowl contender like Tampa, to send an openly gay player is huge, end quote, Ziegler wrote. So the acquisition shows that they're going to bypass the facade of having an openly gay player on the field, what that means in the locker room and everything therein. I don't tend to comment on any of this. I'm just giving you what I understand as what it is. I think he's a great fit from an athletic, from a personal standpoint. They have a lot to gain from him, open-mindedness perhaps. But just someone who's willing to just be honest with himself and who he is. And I think that speaks volumes for what he's trying to accomplish there, and probably in the community as well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And with that being said, I'm out of time. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. This will be on TheRudeDogShow.com. I'm going to post this everywhere I possibly can. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I will be back tomorrow with a whole new Rude Dog Show. It's going to be fun. TheRudeDogShow.com. Thank you, Luke. You found the tail end, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Hello, and I bid you adieu. Thank you so much. for tuning in, and I'll check you guys tomorrow. Have a great night.